welcome back to my channel. I am on my way to New York. It is Christmas and hopefully I will find some really nice vegan food out there. On the plane they gave me a vegetable gnocchi. I don't really like gnocchi, but it had olives in it, so it was quite nice. And then just before we landed they gave me a hummus and vegetable wrap, which was okay. It was really late by the time I got to my hotel, so I will see you in the morning.
Good morning. It's my first morning in New York. I got into the hotel about 11:30 last night and just headed straight to bed. I've been awake since about 5 o'clock this morning. It's now about 7:30 and I should have left already because I've got a lot of things planned for today. I'm not sure if I've maybe given myself too much to do today, but we'll give it a go and we'll see what happens.
First stop is breakfast. I found this place on Happy Cow. It's called Orchard Grocers. It's a delicatessen and grocery store, 100% vegan, and they have some really interesting things in here. So much stuff that I've never seen before at home. I got this pastrami style sandwich on rye bread with melted cheese. The bread was really nice. The mock meat, it was kind of lacking something. The texture just wasn't there, but the flavour was nice. I am walking to Manhattan Bridge. Everybody says when you come to New York you have to walk over the Brooklyn Bridge. It's so iconic. But I want to do this walk over the Manhattan Bridge so I can get some really good views of the Brooklyn Bridge. Unfortunately, I missed the entrance to get onto the bridge, so I'm going to walk along the river instead and then check out some more famous sites. This is the Woolworth Building and City Hall. And in the shadow of the World Trade Center, this is a memorial to the Irish famine. It was built with stones from each of the 32 counties of Ireland, and from the top there are some great views over the river. A short walk away is the 9/11 Memorial. It's made from the footprints of the old Twin Towers, and now there are waterfalls where the towers once stood. The names of all the victims are engraved on these black stones around the outside of the memorial, and on their birthday they place a rose in their name. In this little square there is a falafel van and there are loads of these little food carts all over the city. Many of them do falafel, which is going to prove to be a lifesaver on this trip. This park is called the Battery. It's where you pick up cruisers to go and see the Statue of Liberty. And this piece is called the Emigrants, and this is a memorial for the Second World War. This is the boat that you paid to go on to go and visit the Statue of Liberty, but I am gonna take a ride on the Staten Island ferry, which is free and hopefully should give me a good view of the statue. If it doesn't work out, I can always come back and pay for a boat later on in my trip. But I was not disappointed at all. I've got a really great view of the statue and it didn't cost me a penny. The ferries run every 30 minutes, which gave me enough time on the turnaround to go to the toilet, have a drink before heading back across the water and on to my next destination. I've come to Williamsburg in Brooklyn for a late lunch. It's a proper hipster area. This is another all-vegan place that I found on Happy Cow. It's called the Little Choc Apothecary, and they do crepes here. This is what I had. It was absolutely amazing! Bananas, pecans, and their own vegan version of Nutella. I leave Brooklyn and New York all together. I'm meeting up with some friends who live in New Jersey. We're going to go out to a vegan Chinese restaurant. It was the best Chinese food I have had in my life. Unfortunately, I didn't get any shots of the food, but to make up for it, here's their cat Willow. Good morning. Oh. The jet lag is a little bit better today. I woke up at about 6 rather than 5 like I did yesterday. Got another fun packed day arranged for today, but the problem is I've just had a shower now and I'm really comfortable and I don't want to get up, but I need to leave. Anyway, let's get to it. Let me give you a quick tour of the place I'm staying first. It is the West Side YMCA, which is in Manhattan. It's right next to Central Park. Hotel prices in New York are extortionate, and I figured I'm only going to be sleeping here, so I didn't want to blow my whole budget on accommodation. The room was small, but it was comfortable, had everything I needed. There's a heater, an aircon unit, a little desk, a television, a cupboard with ample storage, and even a safe in there. It was a shared bathroom, but that was perfectly clean, and it did exactly for what I needed. In terms of location, it could not have been any better. Central Park was literally seconds from the front door, and there was a subway station under 5 minutes walk away at Columbus Circle. I've come back to the same area as yesterday for my breakfast. Literally in the next road to Orchard Grocers is a little vegan bakery that I forgot to go to yesterday. It's called Erin McKenna's. I got myself a couple of donuts and a cupcake, which I'm going to save for later. The donuts that I got were mocha and maple. I have a very sweet tooth, and because I'm on holiday, I'm going to eat whatever I want whenever I want. The donut dough in America is completely different to what we have at home. In England, the dough is just like bread, but over here it has a much nicer consistency. It falls apart in your mouth much nicer. That was the mocha one. It was nice, it was warm. Covered in chocolate. The dough was really good, but it wasn't sweet enough. It didn't have any coffee flavour at all. So I'm going to try the maple one now. It was good. It was really good.
Welcome to the world's most famous building, and you get to see it built. Keep your arms and legs inside and keep your eyes open. See those hot rivets flying through the air? Nice catch, Lou! Get those planks out of the way, huh?
That was the view from the 86th floor of the Empire State Building. My ticket includes the 102nd floor as well, so let's head up there and check out the view. Everywhere in New York was very, very busy. Oh, that was amazing! I don't think the difference between the 86th and the 102nd floor was that much. I'm not sure it justified the extra cost of the ticket, but I'm glad that I did it. It's not long before I'm peckish again, so I tuck into the cupcake that I saved earlier. It's gingerbread and apple. It was nice. It wasn't amazing, but it was nice. My first impressions of New York, it's very similar to London. It's really loud. It's a little bit of a unique smell, and the air quality isn't that great. But you kind of expect that in a big city, right? This is probably one of the most famous Christmas trees in the world at the Rockefeller Center. But before I check that out, I need some lunch. This place is called By Chloe. It's a chain of vegan fast food places. I got a chicken parm burger, some chips, and an eggnog cupcake. I've never tried eggnog before, so I'm pretty excited for this. The food was acceptable. It was the same standard as any other fast food chain. The cupcake was much better than the one from Erin McKenna's though. That's the toy shop from the film Big, and there's the tree again. That's the Rockefeller Center itself with the ice rink underneath. Like I said, there were a lot of crowds. I don't know if it's just because it's Christmas or if it's always like that. Next up is somewhere I've always wanted to visit. This is Grand Central Terminal. You may recognise it from the film The Untouchables. That's New York City Library, and behind that is Bryant Park, where they've got a Christmas market on at the moment. So I treated myself to a little present. After that, I took a walk down to the Flatiron Building, which I've always wanted to see, but it was quite underwhelming in real life. And then I headed on the subway to Christopher Street, which is the home of the Stonewall Inn, which is a really important location in LGBT history. Next, I visited another iconic building. It's the fire station from Ghostbusters. I jumped back on the subway in search of some dinner. You can't come to New York without having pizza, and there's a place in Brooklyn that apparently does really good vegan pizzas. It's a bit early for dinner, but I've checked their opening times for Christmas Eve and they're closing a bit early, so I want to make sure I get there on time. Unfortunately, when I get there, the place is completely closed up, even though they're meant to be open for a couple more hours. So I headed back to my hotel. Had some Pringles and some biscuits before heading back out again to see the Radio City Rockettes, which was incredible. One of the best shows I've ever seen, but they used some live animals in the show. On the walk back from the theatre, I got a falafel wrap from one of those food carts. It was very, very good. It's Christmas! My plan's to go ice skating, but the rink isn't open to the public yet, so I'm gonna head and get something for breakfast. Unfortunately, Starbucks don't do any vegan food, but according to Google, By Chloe should be open, so I'm gonna head back there. Well, guess what? It wasn't open. But as I was right next to the cathedral and the mass was just about to start, I decided to go and do that. So I walked back to Central Park. I got myself another falafel wrap for my breakfast. This was even nicer than the one I had the night before. It was cooked fresh. The hot sauce was actually hot. After breakfast I head back to the ice rink, but it was absolutely rammo. I was getting a little bit stroppy because I couldn't get the food that I wanted. I couldn't go ice skating. I think maybe it was just, you know, spending Christmas by myself was getting me a little bit down. But then I told myself, snap out of it, just enjoy the day, and that's what we're gonna do. I had the best time ever exploring Central Park. There is so much to see and so much to do in there. I think I'd like to do something similar in England one Christmas and go to a big park in central London just to see what the vibe is like, because Central Park had just such a chilled atmosphere. Before I realised it, it was late afternoon, so I headed to Chinatown to try and get something to eat. All of the restaurants had a really, really long wait. But luckily I found a place down a little side street. I only had to wait 10 minutes. They bumped me up the queue because I was by myself. I got some dumplings, some noodles and some spring rolls. And everything that I didn't finish, I got them to put in a doggy bag for me to take back to the hotel. After the food, I realised that I was right by Manhattan Bridge, so I was able to do the thing I couldn't do on day one and walk over the two bridges just as the sun was setting, so it couldn't have been any more perfect. I crossed Manhattan Bridge, and then halfway back across Brooklyn Bridge, I realised the show I was going to see that night was actually starting at 7 rather than 7:30, so I was really tight for time and needed to get back to the hotel first to drop off my big camera and the food because they won't let you in the theatre with that. I literally ran the last mile, but I made it just in the nick of time for the show, which was Waitress. It was incredible. Then I headed back to the hotel and demolished my leftovers. Good morning from my last day in New York. I'm back in Brooklyn again for breakfast. I would say if you're a vegan and you're going to New York, you might be better off staying in Brooklyn because a lot of the vegan restaurants are in that area. This is another Happy Cow recommendation. It's Champ's Diner. On the menu for breakfast today is chicken with waffles washed down with a chocolate milkshake. And for afters, I had a cookie dough sundae. Well, I had about half a cookie dough sundae. I've had better vegan chicken and waffles in London. This was a bit salty. The milkshake wasn't quite chocolatey enough. Americans don't seem to quite be able to do chocolate. But if I come back to New York, I'm definitely coming back here. I'm surprised I can even stand up after all that food, but I'm gonna go for a little walk. I found this church on the way, so I popped in and lit a little candle for my dad, saw the baby Jesus, and then carried back on my way. I love finding these hidden churches and buildings down side streets that you wouldn't see if you weren't just gonna go and explore and get a little bit lost. I'm down by the Hudson River now, and there's submarine and aircraft carrier there. It's a museum, you can go and visit them. But the place I have come for is the High Line. It's just under 2 miles of disused railway, which is now being converted into a public walkway with art installations. Everybody kept asking who I was going away with, and they couldn't believe it when I said I was going by myself. This is the first proper holiday that I've ever had all by myself. And do you know what? It is the best thing I have ever done. I've been able to go exactly where I want to go, exactly when I want to go there. I've eaten donuts for breakfast. If it's something that you're thinking of doing but you're a bit nervous, I would say just go for it. I am doing a lot of walking on this trip. By the end of the 4 days, I am going to have walked over 45 miles, which I never would have done if I'd been away with anyone else. But I'm glad because I've seen so much of the city that I wouldn't necessarily have seen if I'd done everything by subway or on the bus. If you're not so keen on walking as I am, the public transport is fantastic in New York. It finishes in the Greenwich area, which has got some fantastic architecture, which I admire as I walk on to my next destination. That is Penn Station. Opposite Penn Station is Madison Square Gardens. There's a food hall where I'm going to go for my lunch. This is the Cinnamon Snail. It's an all-vegan bakery. They do savouries, they do sweets. But as you know by now, I am only interested in the sweet. I get a pear and lavender turnover. I didn't film myself eating the turnover, but it was very nice. I got 2 donuts, a lemon meringue one and a chocolate peanut butter one. Oh my god, I nearly wet my pants when I bit into the chocolate donut. It was the most amazing thing I have ever eaten. Next up is the lemon meringue, and I'm really looking forward to trying it because I haven't had meringue since before I turned vegan, so for years now. I didn't like it. The meringue didn't taste like meringue, the donut wasn't sweet, and the lemon wasn't sharp. And this crumbly biscuit stuff was really salty. I didn't even finish the donut. Not impressed. Not to worry, the adventure continues. I'm jumping on the Roosevelt Island tramway, going to, yep, you guessed it, Roosevelt Island. There's a cat sanctuary on the island which I'm really keen to go and visit. The first thing I notice when I get to the island, it's deadly quiet. It's a fantastic contrast to the rest of the city. So here's the cat sanctuary. It was a bit smaller than I was expecting, and the couple of cats that I saw were not very interested in me. However, I did spark some interest in some geese. In fact, I was sexually assaulted by at least 2 of them. As I walk to the subway, I admire my final sunset in New York. I would really love to come back here in the summer and have a picnic. Although my last day in New York is nearly over, I've still got a few fun things planned for the evening. First, it's back to Central Park and I lace up my boots and enjoy a couple of hours on the ice. Whew. All that skating has hungry work. I found this Indian fast food place on my way into Times Square. I had a mushroom curry, dal, and a blood orange lemonade, which was incredible. Because I'm such a big kid, I just want to go and look at all the shiny lights one last time before the end of my holiday. I'm flying to Toronto in the morning and spending a couple of days in Canada. If you want to see what I got up to there, then make sure that you subscribe so you don't miss the next video. Honestly, this has been the best holiday of my life. I don't know how many years it will be before I can get Christmas off work again, so I'm very, very glad that I made the most of it. But there is one last thing to do before bed. This is the top of the Rockefeller Center, getting a lovely view over one of the best cities I have ever visited. Thank you for watching.